Hey there everyone, my name is Brendan and welcome back to the Crypto Analyst channel. And today I wanted to talk about the real reason why the crypto market is falling right now. Now I'm sure a lot of us have noticed that the crypto markets have been falling over the past 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, after all, Bitcoin's down about 17% as you can see on the screen, and most altcoins are down around 25 to 30% across the board. Now, again, the question on everyone's mind here is why is this happening and is it something that I need to be concerned about? And that's what I want to talk about in today's video here because I'm still very bullish on both Bitcoin and altcoins long term. And once we understand why this is happening, I think it will add a lot of clarity to the situation in its entirety. So let's begin by looking at the charts here first. Again, we can see that Bitcoin came up to a very crucial point, and again, I think a lot of people miss this as well, but this 48 to 49K area that Bitcoin actually tapped upon the Bitcoin ETF approval was one that we have hit before. In fact, this is a previous swing high for Bitcoin. So if we zoom all the way out to Bitcoin's previous high, we can see that it actually tapped this zone right before a big downside move all the way back in March of 2022. So you're looking at this at face value and saying, hey, this is a macro resistance. Not only was this a previous rejection of the 200-day moving average, but also like this is a previous swing high. And after this happened, I mean, Bitcoin went from $48,000 all the way down to $15,000. And does that mean that we're going to do it again? And in short, I think the answer is a very likely no. In fact, I would say most of the evidence, like a 99% chance likelihood that this does not happen again, because the difference this time around is that instead of coming from the top side downwards on this move, we are coming from the bottom side upwards on this move. And so really what we're doing here is we are just reaffirming that, hey, this was a significant point of the past. From a technical analysis perspective, this is a very textbook kind of thing to see. And it's not to say that we can't fall at all, right? Because we are already seeing Bitcoin have a rejection of this previous high. However, I think it's going to be one of those resistance points that is going to break. Now, from a fundamental perspective, I think everyone needs to be aware of this chart. So the Bitcoin ETFs were approved about a week ago. And since then, we are now able to see their asset flows. So on the bright side of things, we can see that Fidelity, for example, is leading the way in the first place with 524 million. Then we have BlackRock with 497 million, and then Bitwise with 305 million. Now you'll notice that pretty much every Bitcoin ETF approval over here is blue, is positive. It's not negative, except for one. And who is that one? Well, it's Grayscale. Grayscale is not even a little bit blue. It's not even a little bit red. They are deeply in the red, and they are completely going the wrong direction. Now, why is this happening? And again, you can see, I just want to clarify here. The total flows over the last 3 days is in millions, and then on the left, it's also in millions. So they are seeing a ton, like a borderline record level amount of Bitcoin outflowing instead of inflowing, when every other ETF approval, every other ETF provider is seeing things in positive inflows and Grayscale isn't. Now, why is this the case? Well, if we actually go and we understand, and I want to go over here, when we understand what's happening over here and kind of the story behind Grayscale, well, we can see that there's more going on behind the scenes. Again, just the other day, we saw that I think there was a total of $2.2 billion in outflows in 5 days of the Grayscale ETF, which is just an astronomical number. And the reason behind this, the method behind the madness, so to say, is that, well, I guess it's a couplefold. Starting off with Grayscale's management fee is so much higher than everyone else's. So if we go and we look at how much Grayscale is charging, it's almost comical. So the average one is like what? 0.2%, 0.2%, 0.25, 0.3, 0.3, 0.4, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, etc. We go to Grayscale at the very bottom here, and they're not 0.2, they're not 0.3, they're not 0.4, they are 1.5. They are substantially larger than like everyone else who's trying to offer these fees. They're like 4, 5, 6 times depending on the asset manager that you are looking at over here. And so this is a really good write-up. I want to give them a shout out, Ash Crypto. They basically kind of elaborate on the situation and say, hey, Grayscale is charging 5 to 6 times higher the yearly management fee as a lot of these other ETF providers. And also, a lot of investors actually bought GBTC at a 40% discount, and now it's at a 0% discount. And so a lot of these people are in profits. So they're either A, taking profits because they bought at a 40% discount. Again, kind of an issue that the GBTC had. That was, I guess it was kind of a double-sided issue because it was positive and negative. But now a lot of people are in profit, and they're kind of looking at this and saying, okay, well, why would I keep my Bitcoin long-term with someone who's going to take 1.5% when BlackRock and Fidelity and like financial leaders are going to take a fifth of that or a sixth of that or like just a fraction of that? So a lot of people are saying, okay, well, I'm in a ton of profit and I'm paying the highest fees by far. So why don't I just sell my Bitcoin and buy it back on one of these other ETFs where I'm not paying this absurd fee? And so I think that's the mindset that a lot of people are going through here. It's not something that they are looking at this and saying, I don't believe in Bitcoin long term, the ETF's a negative thing. That's not what we're seeing in the market. In fact, every major ETF provider is net positive in inflows, with the exception of Grayscale, who is just dumping Bitcoin onto the market. Now, is it all Grayscale? No, not necessarily. This can be a mix of like them taking profits, their members taking profits, etc. But I think a lot of people are starting to look elsewhere, and that's what's causing this event in the first place. So for all of you people out there that are wondering what's happening, you need a little bit of clarity. It's not to say that this run is done, right? I think that we are still very much in a buy the dip market. That's the way that I look at this. In fact, I literally just bought more crypto, multiple cryptocurrencies yesterday on the 18th. Why? Because I still think that the overall uptrend is still very clear. Just because we had one pullback over here, it doesn't mean that the bull run is over. And we've highlighted this in previous videos as well, saying, hey, go back and look at the previous market cycle. And guess what we've seen? We've seen giant pullbacks before over here. I mean, this is a 10% pullback. Over here, we saw another 18% pullback. Over here, we saw a 30% pullback. And then we saw another 30% pullback almost. And then another like 20% pullback. And so in these bull cycles, it is almost inevitable to see a 10, 20, 30% pullback in Bitcoin and maybe a 20, 30, 40, 50% pullbacks in alts, and it still be able to hold the overall uptrend. So I'm looking at this. Am I freaking out? No. Now, I do acknowledge that we can go lower here. I mean, as we just saw, we've seen previous pullbacks in a bull market go down 30%, and we're not even halfway there yet, or about halfway there. So who's to say that we don't do that 30, 32% pullback like we've seen in previous bull markets? And guess where that would bring us to? Right to the 200-day moving average. So am I concerned? Absolutely not. I'm still very much buying the dips on a lot of this stuff. And I think that we have a very bright future ahead. Now, in Ash Crypto's write-up, he kind of talks about, hey, this could take a few weeks. And I agree with him. You know, traditionally speaking, during these election years, the first quarter or two can be a little bit bumpy. And I think in light of a lot of this stuff, there could be a bumpy road ahead for a little bit. But I think as this year goes on, as time kind of favors Bitcoin, I think that the future is ultimately really bright and that there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And that, obviously we're going to have short-term fluctuations here, but I'm looking at this from both a short-term, or not even a short-term, a technical and fundamental perspective. And the problems really aren't anything too crazy. It's not anything out of the ordinary. And that's, I guess, just my two thoughts on the situation. So that's going to round us up for this video, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. If you want to get more involved, check out the links in the description down below. We got a lot of cool content sitting over here. You can get involved with the Crypto Revolution book, Altcoin Alert, Crypt Nation. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. And if you want to be plugged into the crypto community, I'm a little bit biased, but I think ours is the best one out there. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.